You are listening to Dove Valley Deep Divers with Erick Trickel
and Lance Sanderson.
Ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line. Vaughn Miller did it again.
On Overtime Media.
And it looks like we are live. Let this kind of breathe for a second. Make sure we're streaming good across all platforms. Got to see Facebook and YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, everything like that. Looks like we're good to go. Mile high hello, everybody in Broncos country, and welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers live podcast. Guys, this is episode 50 of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm actually doing pretty well. It's been a long day at work, working full time, but I'm glad it's finally the weekend. And good news is that should be going back to normal. They actually have 2 people who have applied. They're going through the background checks and everything like that. So hopefully not having to work full time again. I can go back to my normal schedule and go back to focusing on stuff for Mile High Huddle and videos and for the YouTube channel and all that stuff. But I'm good. Things are going good up here. Family's all good. Everything's good.
Yeah, awesome, man. Everything's going good this way. By the way, guys, my name is Lance Sanderson. I'm your host and joined always by Erick Trickel, our Denver Broncos insider and Mile High Huddle senior NFL draft analyst. But everything's going good. Hey, we had a doctor's appointment earlier today for the baby, just to go check on everything. We're at 8-month mark now, so we're right around the corner, knocking on the doorstep of the newest Broncos fan coming into Broncos country. So very excited about all of that. But anyways, today, guys, a couple just interesting bits of news. First things first, tomorrow afternoon, the Denver Broncos and a bunch of their players are going to be participating in a peaceful protest at the state capitol in Denver regarding everything with the George Floyd killing and the peaceful protests in the Black Lives Matter and the social injustices and stuff like that. Eric, what do you know about that, man?
I don't know much about that. They want to keep. I know they want to keep it peaceful. They don't want to be involved in any of the other stuff that's going on with that. But they're showing their support for the movement. They're showing their support for the justice for George Floyd and all that stuff, and it's a good thing. I mean, being able to show their support and stand out there for it. But we don't really want to sit there and take up the whole thing talking about that stuff. There's plenty of that coverage around on the news, and plenty of us stuff, talking about it here on own Twitters and stuff like that. So we're kind of looking at this to just get away from everything that's going on in the world, as we always were with the big baddie that we can't say the name of going around. We always use this hour as a time to just kind of go away from that and focus on football. So that's what we're going to do here today. Yeah,
I agree with that. This is our chance to get away from the real world and everything like that. But before we get started, I just want to say that I'm not going to get into the whole political aspect of this. It's not my place to say something like that. This is a football podcast. We cover the Denver Broncos. But my one message to everybody out there is just be better. Be better as a human being. That's all we can ask from everybody. Regardless of your political standings, everybody needs to be better. Now, today, guys, interesting piece of information coming out from ESPN at Mike Clay and his fantasy football projections for the Denver Broncos, projecting what is going to be the forecast for Drew Lock and this Denver Broncos 2020 offense. Now, guys, before we get after that, real quick, make sure you guys are following me on Twitter at SandersonMHH and for Eric at Erick Trickel. Make sure you guys are also following at DVDD_pod. You guys also head on over to huddleuppod.com. Make sure you guys get yourself a hat and get yourself a t-shirt. And also, being as today is the 50th episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast, at the end of the show, we are going to be doing a giveaway. So make sure you guys have your trivia hats on, because we got a very tough trivia question regarding the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. And specifically, just to give you a little bit of insight on this, we're going to be giving away a hat and a t-shirt at the end of the show. Actually, we'll announce the winner next week. But anyways, guys,
this is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Going back to the projections for Drew Lock this season, Mike Clay has him going 314 out of 494 completions for a 63.5% completion percentage, 3,510 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Break that down into a per-game basis, 20 for 33 for 234 yards, 1.4 touchdowns, and 0.75 interceptions per game. Now, Eric, there's a very interesting piece to this puzzle as well. Mike Clay only has Drew Lock playing 15 games next year. So based on that, if you extrapolate all that data out, he's pushing close to the 3,745 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Based on that figure alone, first off, let me ask you this question. Do you think that Drew Lock plays all 16 games next year? Do you think there's a possibility of him getting hurt? And also, what do you think of this projection?
I think that with Mike Clay, I could see it possibly being like a thing where he's just trying to just kind of like play it safe, I guess would be the word. Just not wanting to go with the full 16 games for Drew Lock and just showing that the possibility of him potentially missing a game. I think that Drew Lock actually will play all 16 games, but it's something that's just so hard to say for sure. There's just so many freak accidents that can happen and everything like that. I mean, Henry Ruggs got his leg punctured while trying to move. I can't remember who the player was, but one player got hurt slipping when he was getting out of the shower. Just things like that. So injuries can happen at any point. So I think it could be a thing to just keep him safe. The only stat that I look at that I really disagree with is the sacks. And Mike Clay has Drew Lock taking 32 sacks. And for a player who took only 5 sacks last year in 5 games, I think that obviously it's not going to be a one sack per game kind of thing, but 32 seems a little bit high to me. I think that when it's all said and done, he'll average like 1.5 sacks per game, something like that, and end up walking out of there with somewhere between like 26 to 30 sacks. So just a little bit higher than I'd go. That's the only one that I really have an issue with. 3,500 yards from him would be actually a really good year. I said in my bold predictions a few weeks ago that he has 4,000 yards, and a lot of people had some issues with that and made it seem like it was so easy. But 4,000 yards is not an easy feat, like especially for being your second year as a starter or second year in the NFL. I mean, so I think the rest is fair, but just those sacks.
Yeah, Chad Jensen actually has a very interesting article kind of highlighting this entire scenario on milehighhuddle.com. Guys, go ahead and check that out. I'm going to read you just a quick snippet towards the end of this. And he says, quote, I view Jones's touchdown, he's talking about Daniel Jones and Pat Shurmur's offense last year in the New York Giants. He says, quote, I view Daniel Jones's touchdown to interception ratio as the floor for Lock in year 2, meaning 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Bump that passing yardage to closer to 3,500, and it falls in a little closer to how I see it unfolding for Lock in 2020, close quote. So to me, I actually totally agree with that. 3,500 yards, a little bit shy there, but as a second-year player coming in, you also have a bunch of young pass catchers, especially with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Courtland Sutton in year 3. Noah Fant really needs to take that next step as a tight end. I kind of highlighted that in a piece last week on milehighhuddle.com. But still, there's a lot of room for error in this. It's going to be very, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Like up and down. There's volatile is the one that I'm looking for. A very volatile situation where the Broncos could have an explosion game like what you saw with Drew Lock against Houston last year, or it could have a very down game like what you saw against the Oakland Raiders towards the end of the season. Like, you really don't know. There's a lot of growth and a lot of projection with this. And going back to Mike Clay's projection of 3,510 total yards over 15 games, if the Broncos can get that out of Drew Lock, that's a very big step in the right direction for his development.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Denver needs him to take that next step, and they got the weapons for him to take that next step. So it's all on Drew Lock. He's doing the right thing so far to take that next step. He's found a way to pick up the offense. He's out there working with the receivers. So I would expect him to take that next step. I don't think that, again, 4,000 yards seems like a little bit much, but 3,500 is it's a very smart projection for him, especially with the Broncos wanting to go run the ball to help take that pressure off of them. So it's just a smart projection. I do like the fact that he has the 24 touchdowns. That, again, it's a very smart projection. One of the things that they want to do when they get into the end zone is they want to be able to punch it in on the ground. They don't want to have to resort to passing 3 times in the red zone, like right on the goal line, like they did a couple times last year. They don't want that. So that's going to take some touchdowns away. I don't think that 30 is a little bit high. 24, it's right there in that range I think that he can get. It's just, again, all these projections are just good projections except for those sacks.
Yeah, the whole sack thing is very interesting to me just because the Broncos gave up 1 sack per game with Drew Lock in the fold. Like you said, 5 sacks in 5 games. And he also was playing behind a very, as I said in a piece last week on Mile High Huddle, a very ramshackle offensive line. You had Dalton Reisner as the guy who was also playing very banged up. You had Patrick Moore stepping in at the center position, played some guard snaps as well. Austin Slotman, like they were rotating guys in and out. Obviously, you had Elijah Wilkinson and he who shall not be named at the left tackle position. There was who also played better, by the way, but Elijah Wilkinson over there giving up as many pressures as he did. There was no real solidity on the interior of the offensive line. And this year, the Broncos actually kind of have that. Dalton Reisner is going to come back healthy. They got Lloyd Cushenberry in the 3rd round to play that center position. He's projected to start right now. And then Graham Glasgow, who's a very good pass protector, very good hop step, re-anchors himself very well, drives back into the defender as a pass protector, and is really going to help out Drew Lock to be able to step up into the pocket, which is something we saw him do on a very high basis last year. So to get away from that edge pressure and to get away from, the troubles that you have at the tackle position for Drew Lock, that's going to be huge. And I don't see 32 sacks from this club. I really don't. And to even extrapolate that out even further, Mike Clay has Jeff Driscoll taking that next start and playing in a second game as well. And he's adding another 2 sacks for Jeff Driscoll at the quarterback position as well. 34 sacks in 16 games. That's more than 2 sacks per game, guys. I don't believe that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The sacks it's not just the sacks for Drew Lock, just to be clear. Just every single stat projection from Mike Clay, even the ones for the defense, is one that bothers me a little bit. Just going quickly to this defense, he has them only picking up 40 sacks on the season. That would be tied for 15th or in the bottom 15 from last year with 40 sacks. And Denver, I mean, even last year, they had 40 sacks and they improved their pass rushing unit. They should get better if Bradley Chubb can play a full 16 games, which he has him doing, but just only picking up 7.8 sacks. Like I'm, of all the ones that I'm sitting here, the stats I look at, the rest are very solid. They're very fine ones that just look very fair. But the sacks, so I'm starting to wonder if there is something with Mike Clay's projections when it comes to the sacks, because I can't remember exactly what they were last year, but I remember with a bunch of them that it just seemed really off when it comes to sacks. So that's the one that I really question the most when it comes to his projections overall for any position, any team.
Well, and one thing going back to the sacks for last year for the Denver Broncos, they had 0 sacks for the first 4 games. And after Bradley Chubb tore his ACL, they actually went on a tear. And to get 40 sacks in 12 games, that just kind of shows you the lethality of this defense, especially if it's clicking on all cylinders. And that's with a Jeremiah Tauchu, with a Malik Reed, a Justin Hollins on the other side. If you get a Bradley Chubb coming back, who's an elite pass rusher in his own right, I mean, he almost set the rookie pass rushing record for the most sacks in a single season by a rookie in his rookie year. So there's a fine line here, and I'm not exactly sure where Mike Clay is projecting this from. And I'm very interested to see how his projections are actually played out. Like, what is his formula? I want to see the baseline for his numbers. What is he doing? And I know that he's very highly respected, especially in fantasy football, for what he does. Gathering making up his statistics, gathering information and putting out quality information for everybody. And yeah, we can argue it tooth and nail if we want to, but still at the same time, the guy's putting in a bunch of work. How is he actually coming up to these numbers? Because it's for some reason, somewhere or another, there is something that you can argue with on it. And he's right a lot of the time, but still it's just very head scratching, especially when you look at it at a face value more than anything.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull this up here. We got a super chat from Terry Randall. Thank you for that. # Erick's Tie Rocks. And the reason why I pointed out is, guys, I'm debuting a brand new tie for today's show. It's actually the tie I got married in. It's my wedding tie. Just saying.
Hey.
But yeah, I just want to do that. And Beast, I'm not taking it off, man. Like, no one wants to see that. No one wants to see that. I don't even want to see it.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
All right. Well, speaking of going to the comment stream here, guys, let's say hello to everybody that's been chilling in the room, getting the conversation flowing here. Obviously, Bawana Beast, the administrator, the moderator, the mayor of the YouTube community. I see Terry Randall obviously coming in, Robert Caslow, Stephen Baumgartner. What's up, dude? How you doing? Kenneth Booker coming in here. James Campbell as well coming from across the pond. What's up, guys? How we doing tonight? Let's get some questions rolling in here. Kenneth, I got one from you, buddy, coming in here. Who do you think will be the NFL Comeback Player of the Year?
I just want to say, Booker, that mask of yours looks freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is one awesome mask. I wish I had one like that for work. All I have is a Star Wars one. But for Comeback Player of the Year,
man, that's a hard one.
I don't know. I suddenly drew a blank about major players that got hurt last year.
Me too, actually. Trying to think. And it doesn't necessarily have to be players that got hurt. It just had a down player. It could be a year, like a bounce back year as well. So
one player that would actually be awesome to see win it, Bradley Chubb.
Yes, it would.
Missing those last 12 games, not playing the best of the first 4, coming in and having a huge year. Like, that would be awesome to see. He's the only one that comes to mind because he's the only one that I can think of that had like a big potential star power that got hurt, but had a down year or whatever. Rob Gronkowski, I wonder. I don't know on this because he wasn't in the NFL, so I don't know if he would qualify for it.
I think he would. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Big Ben, he's another potential one.
Yeah, Big Ben.
Weapons that they have and everything. Yeah. Matt Stafford, I forgot about Matt Stafford getting hurt. Those are definitely 2 guys. I would have it be. I didn't think that it would likely be a quarterback over a edge rusher, but if Bradley Chubb goes and builds upon that first year he had, then that would be a very comeback player of the year type season.
All right, here's a joke for you. How about Drew Brees after the evisceration that he took on Twitter the other day?
All right.
Sorry, I had to do it. All right, let's see here.
Josh Rosen as the comeback player of the year. That'd be pretty funny.
You know what? If Josh Rosen actually got the opportunity to start down there, I swear to this day
we all know he's going to end up with the New England Patriots, and he's going to end up continue their dynasty. Like, it's going to happen. Like, I don't know why it hasn't happened already. Jarrett Stidham can't play quarterback.
I swear that the Indianapolis Colts should have gave up one of their second-round picks to go and trade for him. That's why not go sign Phillip Rivers and then bring in Josh Rosen behind him? You got Phillip Rivers for a year, show the young guy the ropes, let him take over the reins next year, especially after they have another good draft class this year, and watch Indianapolis be like a juggernaut in the NFL completely, because I think Josh Rosen, there's a lot of talent there. You may hate him for his head and his political beliefs and stuff like that. There's a lot of talent with that guy, and he's never really gotten a fair shake in any situation in the NFL. He goes to the Arizona Cardinals, who put him behind probably the worst offensive line we've seen in like the last 10 years. With no weapons outside of a 37-year-old Larry Fitzgerald, and he had one of the worst like rookie seasons we've seen from a quarterback in a long time. And then he gets traded over to Miami, who again, there's no talent there. Put him on a team where he has some talent, where he doesn't have to like perform immediately and like be that stand-up number 1 quarterback, like the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he can learn and grow in that kind of a situation. Indianapolis to me was such a great fit.
Yeah, a couple things here I just want to pull up real quick. Lynette saying hi from Nebraska. Hi, Lynette in Nebraska. We're saying hi from Wyoming and Alaska.
Yes.
Nebraska and Alaska. I'm a poet.
I see.
And then Jerry Holland. Oh, heck, I like them hats. Nice. Hey, if you want to get one, it's, what's the name of the site? Huddle Up Pod, right?
HuddleUpPod.com. HuddleUpPod.com. Go get your merch, guys. Also, stay tuned because we are going to be giving away a hat and a T-shirt at the end of today's show. So, little boxes. Coming in here on Twitch.
We're gonna be giving away after next week's show, but we're gonna set up the contest for it.
Yeah, set up the contest for today. But anyways, little boxes coming in on Twitch. We cannot forget everybody else on all of these streaming platforms coming in and said, "What do you think the distribution in snaps and touches will be for Gordon and Lindsey?" This is actually a pretty interesting question. I'm going to start off here. First things first, you don't pay a running back, especially on a second contract. You shouldn't, anyways. But if you do, you have to make him kind of a primary focus in the offense. He's going to be the Broncos' 1A running back. quarterback. I'm projecting probably 15 to 20 touches a game for Melvin Gordon in this offense, with Phillip Lindsay coming in to spell and give him some breathers and stuff like that, getting probably 12 to 15 touches total in a game. A lot of that is going to be really dependent on what Phillip Lindsay is able to do in the passing game, and we really haven't seen that to date. In fact, Pat Shurmur, when he was first hired, pretty much put the onus on Phillip Lindsay that you need to go out and improve your pass catching ability if you want to be a part of this offense. And then they go out and they get a very high quality pass protector and pass catcher out of the backfield in Melvin Gordon. To me, that sings volumes as to what's going to happen here. And Melvin Gordon is going to get the lion's share of the carries. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that Melvin Gordon, he'll probably be right in there with that like 18, 19, 20 touch per game. And I think Phillip Lindsay is going to be right there behind him with about 15 to 17. There's going to be, it's basically a 1A, 1B type of situation there. And whoever the third running back ends up being is going to have a few touches as well. So that's something there that can definitely be the case. But one wrench that can throw it in is, as you're talking about, is Phillip Lindsay finally developing that ability as a receiver out of the backfield, or even being able to line up outside. So that's something that can be a potential thing as well. And I saw a question about this because I mentioned Stidham with the – here it is. Beast asked, where did Stidham rank in that year's draft for both of you? In the 2018 or 2019 NFL draft, Jarrett Stidham was my number 5 overall quarterback. But he had to go to a team that I really felt could develop him and what he could do, and I just don't think that the Patriots are the right team for that unless Josh McDaniels makes a huge change with how he is. I just don't see it happening with him. So it's just one of those things where maybe a different team could have been a better situation for him.
A team that prioritizes quick and easy reads and not so cerebral aspect at the quarterback position would have been a lot better for a Jarrett Stidham. If he would have went to, say, Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, say they made him his like 4th round pick, that probably would have been a lot better. But Josh McDaniels, as far as a cerebral coach and making sure dictating stuff at the line of scrimmage, obviously Tom Brady being able to do so, I don't think Jarrett Stidham has that potential. And also, I don't think that he has the ability to go through progressions. You didn't see that at Auburn with him. You really didn't. I had him as a 4th or 5th round project, kind of a quarterback, somebody that you can bring in and be a valuable backup kind of a quarterback player. But at the same time, he's not going to be that guy that can go out and win starting reps. He's not going to go out and win you games. He can win you a game if like the situation falls correctly for him, kind of like a Trevor Siemian, but not in that like the situation is a comparison, not the actual player itself. But if you have a good defense around him, have some weapons and stuff, he can actually go out and win some games for you. But he's not going to be the key factor in doing so. That's my personal opinion on Jarrett Stidham, and to me, they definitely, desperately need to upgrade the quarterback position in New England. And as Eric said, yeah, Josh Rosen is a prime candidate there. Cam Newton, honestly, might be an aspect there, especially if you can get Josh McDaniels to kind of tweak what he's doing, get some read option stuff, some play action stuff going there, dumb it down at the line of scrimmage. It's a very interesting quarterback situation up in New England. Now we got a super chat coming in here.
Hold on real quick, just before we get to that, is maybe Josh McDaniels will try to get Jay Cutler out of retirement. Because they're such close friends.
I think Bus Cook would have something to say about that.
Or try to get Matt Castle.
Right? Yeah, no doubt. All right, here it is. Pobby coming in here. Pobby's one of the premium Super Chat superstars on the Mile High Huddle Up Podcast Network, jumping in with a very generous donation. Pobby, we appreciate that. I see you rocking your Huddle Up Podcast mug and the Football Priest t-shirt, I believe is what that is. Hi, Eric and Lance. Congratulations. Thank you for all you do. Amazing podcast. Go Broncos. Bobby, once again, thank you all for joining us tonight. Mile High salute to all of our Super Chat superstars. You are up there working your way, chiseling your spot into Mount Rushmore up there as far as the Mile High Huddle Super Chat superstars are concerned.
So is your name Pobby or Pabby? How is it actually pronounced?
So as from what I've heard from listening to the Huddle Up podcast, it's Pobby. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, please.
James Campbell coming and put her in Mount Rushmore. There it is.
Definitely. She has her place up in the MHH Mount Rushmore.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
All right, James Campbell coming in with an interesting comment here. I'd cut or trade Freeman, to be honest. And now, this is kind of an interesting scenario here. The thing about Royce Freeman is we really don't know what his role is going to be in this offense. He doesn't necessarily offer up a whole bunch of special teams value, and if he wants to land his spot on the roster, he's going to have to do that. He's going to have to step up as a special teams player because between Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay, there's some spell reps there. He might maybe get 1, 2, or maybe 5 total reps in a game as far as the offense is concerned. But there's little trade value with him, man. There's nothing there. Eric, am I wrong in this aspect? Is there any trade value for Royce Freeman, or are the Broncos just going to have to cut him loose?
Yeah, I don't think there is any trade value for him, but he's a guy that if they want to move on, they're just going to have to cut him loose. He's a guy who he entered the NFL with a high amount of carries, with a major injury in his college history already, and those players very rarely end up panning out in the NFL. So it's something that to sit there and watch, see what he's able to do. But I think that Levante Bellamy and Khalfani Muhammad have a chance to beat him out for it. Only thing that I can see keeping him is if he does better on special teams, if he improves as a pass blocker and just continues to do as well as he does as a receiver. Because he can work out of the backfield, he can work out wide. It just gives an offense so many options. But with that aspect of it, is that really needed as much when you have a guy like Melvin Gordon? Like it's when you're looking at the third back, the biggest thing is going to be special teams. Plain and simple. Who's going to contribute the most on special teams? Because you're going to want to hope that Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay stay healthy, although both of them have shown their issues doing just that.
Well, and another thing that coming out of your third back is going to be a different kind of a dynamic. You want somebody that's going to be able to provide that jitterbug aspect, more or less, that kind of change of pace role. Obviously, Philip Lindsay is plenty fast enough, and Joseph Malinowski coming in here with a comment. Between Philip Lindsay and Gordon, it's going to be who's healthier, and obviously who's playing a better game. It's going to be Philip Lindsay due to his speed. Speed doesn't necessarily 100% matter all the time. Yes, it's great to have that speed, but what else do you bring to the offense? Can you pass protect? Can you catch out of the backfield? Go ahead, Eric.
I think that with the whole speed thing, I think that is especially true when you're looking at the running back position. Is you can't just be fast at the running back position. Yep. You have to be able to make people miss. You have to be able to get through the holes quickly. You have to be able to have the right burst, because speed doesn't always equal burst. And Philip Lindsay, I don't think he is faster than Melvin Gordon. Philip Lindsay's not that fast. He has good burst, though. He has decent ability to make people miss. And the best trait about him is that despite his size, he wants to run defenders over. That's what he wants to do. I think that it's outside, as long as Melvin Gordon stays healthy, I think it is very much he is going to be the main back for this Broncos offense. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. He will be the main back for it. They might use Lindsay a little bit more often every game, every here and there, maybe a series here, but it's not going to be Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon. It is Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay. One reason why they went out and got Melvin Gordon was because of the issues Philip Lindsay has. They got Melvin Gordon to be the top back on this Broncos offense.
Yep. And that's kind of exactly what I was saying earlier. You don't pay a running back on a second contract unless you plan on making him the bell cow of your offense. And yes, again, Melvin Gordon's going to be the 1A. This is Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay, not Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon. There's a 1A and a 1B, and to me, it's a very clear 1A and 1B. Melvin Gordon is going to be the guy out there, and you're going to see him a lot more on third down than you're going to see Philip Lindsay. It's just a plain and simple fact of the matter. If you can pass protect the way that Melvin Gordon does, if you can catch out of the backfield, also line up out wide, Royce Freeman could see some more downs on third down as well, just because Philip Lindsay doesn't offer that pass protection. He doesn't offer that out of the backfield catching ability. So that might be the niche that you get with Royce Freeman. But to me, what difference is he other than Melvin Gordon? As far as that aspect, they're one and the same kind of a player. Melvin Gordon, to me, is a superior player, don't get me wrong. But Royce Freeman and Melvin Gordon offer such a similar skill set that where a Khalfani Muhammad being an elite receiver out of the backfield, where a Levante Bellamy even being a better receiving threat out of the backfield than Khalfani Muhammad, why not get that extra jitterbug kind of wide receiver, or running back, as a wide receiver out of the backfield in a Levante Bellamy over a Royce Freeman, even though Royce Freeman does offer that pass protection ability?
So my thing too with this, when looking at this, and I do want to get Charlie, I do want to get to your question. That is actually a great question. But when I look at this, is another thing too that neither of us have mentioned is Royce Freeman would have his spot on the roster cemented if he was willing to be the type of running back that he's made to be, the way he's built. Yep. He is made to be a between the tackles tough runner, and if that was what he was willing to do, his spot would be cemented because the Broncos don't have another guy to do that.
Nope.
But that's not what he wants to be. He wants to bounce it outside. If Phillip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon switch their play style or their body types or their play styles, it'd be perfect. Yep. Phillip Lindsay wants to be that between the tackles tough guy because he likes to hit, and Royce Freeman wants to be that bounce it outside, try to make big plays happen. But they have the size for the opposite. Like, it's something that ever since the Broncos brought them in, it is something that I've mentioned multiple times that if just swap their bodies. Like, that's all you got to do. Just swap their bodies. But
honestly, just before we get to this, because I see the question, it's an amazing question by Charlie Beagle here. But just one thing here: if Royce Freeman goes to a stretch zone capability offense, like the Kyle Shanahan offense, where they want to stretch some stuff out, Gary Kubiak getting the stretch zone and then cutting back to the inside, Royce Freeman would be so much better in that. But running a purely inside zone scheme, he's not fit for it. He doesn't put his head down and go. He doesn't know how to pick and choose his way that way. He wants to get laterally, get flat, and then dive forward. He wants to put his foot in the ground and get north and south, not get north and south first and then move out that way. It's a completely and totally different scheme fit there for Royce Freeman, and it doesn't fit with not only what Rich Scangarello wanted to do last year, it doesn't fit with what Pat Shurmur is going to want to do this year. Now, to go into Charlie Beagle here, what is the breakdown position-wise of special teams players? Mostly linebackers and tight ends? No, you're going to see a lot of cornerbacks. As far as the interior guys, yes, you're going to see a lot of cornerbacks. You're going to see a lot of wide receivers, a lot of running backs as well. Linebackers and tight ends, absolutely, they're going to make up the majority of your the offensive lines, like on your punt coverage teams and stuff like that. But as far as your gunners and stuff goes, you're seeing cornerbacks, you're seeing wide receivers, you're seeing guys that are quick, get down the field in a hurry, be able to go down and make some tackles and stuff like that. You're not seeing a bunch of offensive linemen, linebackers, and tight ends. Sure, you're going to see a couple of guys like that. Obviously, your long snapper. Take a look at your long snapper. Really, like Casey Kreider is 6'2", 225, 235 pounds, something like that. Just for an example, well, that's like the size of a linebacker.
Well, I mean, Casey Kreider's not the long snapper this year.
Well, but that was just an example.
But I mean, you're not wrong. On your blocking units, those guys that are up front, the main blockers and everything, those are your linebackers, those are your tight ends. That's what you want them to do. Your running backs, so basically kind of how it is the farther out wide you get, the not necessarily smaller, but the faster you want to be. You want your gunners to be some of the faster players on the team because you want them to get down there, but you also want them to be able to hit. Then you move inside a little bit. This is where you typically find running backs. This is where Terrell Davis really made his start off a little bit. He wasn't the outside gunners, but he was the interior gunners, the guys who are more quick, trying to get people missed, but they have decent speed as well. And that's what Terrell Davis was able to do and make plays then happen. Then when you get into the inside, the guys that are right there around the kicker or blocking for the punter, whatever, that's where you find your linebackers and tight ends. So you do have linebackers, tight ends. It's not mostly them. It's just kind of a mixed match of things. And typically your guys that are just right outside of being a starter on offense or defense and not a key depth piece, like a number 3 safety, that's your special teams unit. So your number 6 wide receiver, either as a gunner, number 5 too. You want them to be a gunner or returner. Number 4, even possibly your number 4, especially when the Broncos have the talent or potential talent that they do at wide receiver as they do. Your number 3 running back, your number 4 running back if you have him. I mean, if you got to it also depends on who makes your active roster too. So if you have 4 backs and all of them are making your active roster, then those last 2 are going to be it. And Charlie, the thing is that the people that are blocking, it's not often that they're offensive linemen anymore. It used to be a big thing, but now it's not. You still have a few offensive linemen here and there, but for the most part, it's just linebackers, tight ends, guys that are like 250, 260 pounds as the main blockers. This is kind of how it is now.
Now, to be more specific in this aspect, that's going just to like your punt coverage units. Now, going to field goal kickers, obviously you want the meat up front. You want as many offensive linemen as you can. Yeah, that's where the offensive linemen like to play. Obviously, because you gotta slow down that kick coverage protection, stuff like that. Be able to get the kick off the ground. As far as a punt coverage goes, and especially the kickoff unit goes, you're not seeing a whole bunch of. You might maybe if anything, you might see a lineman on a return team, maybe. I doubt that even anymore. Not often even anymore. You're going to see some linebackers and tight ends and stuff doing that, cornerbacks, wide receivers, and obviously your running backs and stuff like that. And honestly, if you can get a quick, speedy, shifty returner that can play the wide receiver position like a KJ Hamler, being a kick returner, then that's a great move because it's a multifaceted aspect there because it brings in special teams value and also position versatility on the offensive scheme as well. So you got to be able to mix and match those players, use your depth pieces as well. Like Eric said, that 5th, 6th wide receiver, the 5th, 6th cornerbacks, 4th and 5th linebacker, stuff like that. That's going to be your core special teams units.
And speaking of kickoffs, that's what Charlie was mainly speaking of. Yep. Is you don't have offensive linemen out there anymore, and James Campbell actually highlights why. The wedge rules changed, and then teams decided to go away from your offensive linemen go to your tight ends and your linebackers, and be a little bit faster and more athletic out there. Because one thing, too, that we see often with offensive linemen, they don't do the best hitting moving targets. That is one weakness of theirs. Like, if you are running a zone scheme, you are looking for guys that can hit moving targets because they're going to be asked to do that so much. But not every team runs a zone scheme. Very few teams run pure zone schemes anymore. So they're not looking for that. Those guys that can find the guy running down the field and hit them and meet up with them at the right time, which linebackers and tight ends, that's a lot of what they do. Yep. So teams move to that more often. No more wedge rules. You can't link arms and everything like that and create that wall of 300 pounds for 300-pound offensive linemen. Yeah, you go to linebackers, you go to tight ends, you be more athletic, you be quicker.
Yeah, I was watching a game. I can't remember exactly. I think it was actually Super Bowl 33 where you could see the wedge rule being enacted there. You got 3 huge, gigantic mongoloids, Tim Dwight running a kickoff for a touchdown against the Broncos. Super Bowl 33. That rule is completely null and void anymore. And as Eric said, getting more nimble, getting more mobile, and finding guys, get to a spot, pick a hat, then go make a hit and stuff like that. And with the rule changes that with the NFL is regarding player safety and stuff like that, it's really hard to even play kickoff right now. It really is, just because everything's so concussion centric right now, and major injury, major bone and ligament injury. The player safety is such a huge thing. Getting those big players out of it, getting rid of the wedge rule and stuff like that. That's why you're seeing some smaller, faster guys kind of playing this, where you're not seeing the huge, gigantic collisions anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And like, on one thing, I can't blame them for going a little bit safer, but the other thing is it does take away some of the entertainment value a little bit. Yep. But guys, we're at 37 minutes now. We're going to have time for just a few more questions. Unfortunately, I do have some other stuff that I've got to get to here soon. So we don't have a whole lot of time left. So go ahead and get your questions in, and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities.
Darian P, are you going to are you auctioning off naming rights for baby Sanderson? No, no, Darian, not at all. In fact, actually, so hold on for a second here. So I one of the names that I wanted to choose was Darian. I wanted to name my son Darian for the longest time after Darian Gordon. I thought that was a great name, but no, it's Caven. Caven. Gordon would be a good one too. Not really, not for you anyways, but Caven Elliott is his name.
Man, why are you hating on the name Gordon?
I don't know. I just don't like the name Gordon.
Guys, I prefer a new co-host who actually doesn't like the name Gordon. For those of you who don't know, my actual first name is Gordon, so I'll just go by Eric. But here's actually a good one. Jason came in and so what is your opinion on the article written by Ben Valin in regards to Denver having the worst depth at quarterback? Yeah, they don't. I don't agree with it. I have no idea how he came to that conclusion. My assumption is that he just really held a lack of experience against Denver, but that doesn't add up with other teams out there. So I don't agree. I think that Denver, with the potential that Denver has with Drew Lock, is a lot better than what potential teams have with others. Let's see here. I can't put, even though Joe Burrow was a better prospect, I have a hard time putting Denver behind the Cincinnati Bengals.
Especially without Andy Dalton now.
Yeah, because their depth is atrocious. And let's see here. I'm trying to think of other teams. Miami, because you have Ryan Fitzpatrick and then you have Tua, who struggled to stay healthy. Like, that's a big bet on Tua staying healthy.
We saw
Josh Rosen too. And the biggest one, though, is the Patriots. He has the Patriots above the Broncos. There is no way anybody can convince me that Jarrett Stidham, who has thrown 4 passes in the NFL, 4, is better than what the Broncos have. Their depth, I don't know what their depth is.
They have Brian Hoyer.
Ooh, they have Hoyer. Ooh, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that room over Denver's. That's not me being a homer. But
all right, Charlie, that's where I draw the line. Now you've insulted me. Paxton, Sanderson, are you serious? I draw the line. Come on. No,
that's what Nick's gonna name his new dog, Paxton.
No, for real, going back to the Ben Volen article, I didn't read the entire thing, but just to say that the Broncos have the worst depth, I guess I can understand that. Jeff Driscoll being unproven, Brett Rippon, obviously, then his name's Neil, I believe is his last name. I don't remember exactly where he's from. The undrafted free agent. But with Drew Lock being as completely unknown, at least going to Miami, you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has started a lot of games in the NFL. But yeah, Oscar, 1 of 4 passes was his pick 6 going back to Jarrett Stidham. But still, like, as far as the quarterback depth, banking on a Josh Rosen as a former first-round pick, you gave up a lot of capital to get him as a second rounder. You obviously went out and picked Tua with the fifth overall pick. So draft capital doesn't necessarily mean anything. You have to live up to that draft capital, but at least they have some guys that have some high potential. The Broncos, they have Locke, who was projected like as a first-round pick. The Broncos obviously got a steal with him in the second round, but then Jeff Driscoll, he struggled not only in Cincinnati, but also in Detroit. Like, there's not a whole lot to like there. I can see the premise of the argument, but at the same time, New England, man, seriously, New England, Brian Hoyer has been a bad quarterback for a very long time in the NFL. Jarrett Stidham is nothing. And behind that, I don't even know a name. I really don't.
Yeah. So, Charlie, if you're talking about a name for baby Sanderson, if it's a chunky boy, he's going to name it Garrett Foles. Garrett Foles. I've been having issues talking all day today, man.
Stop it. There's something here. Let's see here. Let me scroll up. There was a good question I saw and it just passed up.
They must not think we can read here. I don't think many mainstream NFL media people think that the Broncos fans can read. Like, don't get why, but
that's true.
The Broncos get is it's ridiculous.
James is responding to a comment here. I'm not exactly sure where he got it from. It says, Robert, the Bills run a matchup offense and defense. They could throw 50 passes one week and run the ball 50 times the next week. They zigged when the other team zagged. I'm not exactly sure where that comment's coming from. But as far as that's concerned, Eric, you and I kind of talked about this the other day, and it really kind of does rely on what the Bills do with Josh Allen and being that quarterback out of Wyoming, crappy Wyoming, as you said, quote unquote, in your text. And by the way, I don't appreciate that. But no, the Bills could be a very scary team this year. They really can. I really like A.J. Epinesa. That was a great scheme fit for what they do in their defense. Going out getting Stephon Diggs. They went out and there was another they got Zach Moss in the draft as well. Like there's going to be some pretty interesting football going on in Buffalo. There was another question here regarding the Broncos here.
Yeah, with Buffalo, it really does depend on Josh Allen. Is he going to actually be able to hit the boat? Or is he just going to just drain the ocean by throwing a heater? Like that.
They don't. He's already proved they don't. He's already proved they don't need him to win games by him throwing the ball for 400 yards. He can run the ball for 200 yards and score 3 touchdowns. They're still going to win a football game.
Just not the playoffs,
right? All right, Joseph.
You can win all you want in the regular season.
Yeah,
got to win in the postseason.
Yeah.
He hasn't shown that he can with his play style.
All right, Joseph Malinowski coming in here. We're going to have to wrap this up here in just a few minutes, guys, so probably one of the last ones. Get your questions in now while we get a chance to be able to answer them. But anyways, Joseph coming in. What is the Broncos going to do with all these tight ends? Who do you think they move on from, or do they just keep the new young guys? What are the Broncos going to do with this tight end room? To me, it's going to be a 3-man tight end room. You're going to see Noah Fant. Obviously, he's the guy that the Broncos are really going to want to take that next step forward. They got Nick Van Ette. They paid him a lot of money this year. Well, not really a lot of money, but I mean, $4.7 million is a lot of money. And then Albert O, obviously, they brought him in as a draft pick. Outside of that, I don't really see any room unless Andrew Beck comes in and plays that fullback position and potentially as a special teams player. But I don't know. To me, it's a three tight end room this year, just based on what Pat Shurmur wants to do with his offense, getting 3 wideouts on the field at the same time with 1 running back. Tight ends are going to be kind of an afterthought, really. Obviously, Noah Fant's going to eat, and he's going to. I hope he takes the next step, but he's going to be the primary focus in the offense. Or you're not going to see a whole lot of 2 tight end sets this year.
So, well, the thing is I agree that only three tight ends make it, and my big reason why is now that they can call up a person from the practice squad, you don't need that tight end fullback hybrid on your active roster. You can use it if you're game planning where you're going to be using a fullback. You can call him up.
Yep.
If not, then you can call somebody else up. I think that's where Beck fits best with his Broncos roster going forward, being one of either that 54th or 55th man. And Chat absolutely loved the hating on Wyoming.
I just saw it. Charlie Beagle speaking some truth here. Wyoming is the original social distancing state. We're not going to get into that, but you know what, guys? We have just shy of 600,000 people that live in the state, and it's the 10th largest state as far as land size in the entire United States. Yeah, well, obviously because Alaska is huge, but still, Wyoming is a pretty dang huge state, and we don't have a whole lot of people. We live socially distanced. Okay, I have neighbors that live like half a mile away from me.
Yeah, you guys still have a higher higher population per square mile or whatever it is. I think the actual term it is in Alaska. Even though Alaska has 735,000 people, we're just all spread out throughout this huge state.
Yeah, it is a gigantic state. Shoot, Alaska could pretty much fit within the United States itself. You might as well make yourself your own country.
No, it's not per capita. Something per square mile.
Yeah, so many people per square mile. We all know Wyoming is not a state. It's just like Atlantis.
I'd make another comment about Wyoming, but Lance might actually get mad about it. Population density. There we go. Thank you, guys.
There you go.
So, before we get out of here, because we don't have that much time left, if we get a good question after this, we'll go back and answer this question. But this giveaway that we're doing.
Yes.
So, we're going to be asking a question. And that's all I know. It's been Lance's idea. So, I'm going to let Lance take it. But we're going to be asking a question. And it deals with me and information that I have revealed over 8 different Dove Valley Deep Divers episodes.
All right. So, guys, now, before we get out of here, first things first, these are the rules of the giveaway. You have to be following me at Sanderson MHH. You have to be following at Erick Trickel on Twitter. You also have to be following. I'm going to pull up the banner. We're going to get out of here, guys, as well. I'm going to pull up the banner here. You have to be following at DVDD_pod on Twitter. You have to be doing all 3 of these things. If you're not eligible to be in the drawing for this. Also, if you guys get a chance, go and follow at John K MHH. That's Bawana Beast. We need to build his following as well. He's a part of the show. But at least follow me, follow Eric, follow the show. Now, guys, the trivia question here is, and the idea behind this was that you had to be paying attention to Dove Valley Deep Divers for the long course of the show. This is the 50th episode of Dove Valley Deep Divers, and Eric has divulged this information multiple times, actually, and one time in specific. Now, the question is, and message us on Twitter, get on us at Facebook, whatever you got to do to be able to do that. Eric, go ahead.
Yes, definitely message us. Don't tweet at us the answer, just in case you're correct. We don't want other people going and figuring out, just taking a guess what that is. We just want to kind of keep it private. So make sure you send us a message about it, and we'll write down our name. And next week, what we're going to do is we're going to pick the winner randomly. I'm going to do it live. I'm going to share my screen, go to a randomizer online, and just have it pick a random winner out of the people that get the answer correct.
Yep. So now, the question is, Eric possesses an autograph and a jersey from a former Denver Broncos player. Who is it? So let me say it again. Erick possesses an autograph and a jersey from a former Denver Broncos player. We will not read any comments out loud. We will not discuss this any time over the next week. Direct message us on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever you got to do. Direct message us the answer if you're following at Sanderson MHH, at Erick Trickel, and at DVDD_pod, and you have the correct answer. You are eligible to be put into the drawing for a new Dove Valley Deep Divers hat and a new Dove Valley Deep Divers t-shirt. So, guys, with that, we're going to wrap it up here. I don't see any other comments coming in here. So we will see you guys next week. Friday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Once again, guys, thank you for joining the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. You guys stay safe and take care, and we'll see you next week.
And again, guys, if you guys want a second Dove Valley Deep Divers show earlier on Saturday, this is mainly for those of you who are over in Europe, overseas, later time zones that can't always tune in, even if you're listening to this after the fact. Make sure you guys let us know. We're talking about it. We're not sure 100% if it's going to happen. We're wanting it to happen, but we need your guys' input on it. A second DVDD show earlier on Saturday mornings. And Charlie, it's not that his shirt's faded. His coloring with his computer's just off.
Yeah, I was going to say the shirt is brand new. The shirt is brand new. I've had it for like 2 weeks. It's literally brand new. So. But anyways, guys, thank you once again for joining the Dove Valley Deep Divers. You all stay safe and take care and have a great rest of your weekend, folks. We'll see you later.